What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Undeniable Expert Podcast. I'm Odell Bazell, and I want to jump into it with this episode. This is part prep for those that are going to be joining us for our next marketing summit, and it's part prep for those of you that are interested in implementing the interview method. Now, our next summit, as of this recording, is coming up in a few weeks. And whenever people come, I always tell them that we have a learn and do type of situation. So we don't just teach you what, we don't just teach you why, but we walk you through how. We walk you through how, and we even do part of the how with you. And so with this episode, I'm going to be breaking down a few things that you have to know to take advantage of what we're offering. But then I also want to break down some things as it relates to those of you that are in business for yourself. Remember that your goal in business is marketing. Write that down. Your goal, your activity, the type of business that you have, all of that has to do with marketing. And if you don't get really good at that, it's going to be hard for you in business. It's just period. And I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what I know. So let's start here. Everybody that is in a service based, front facing business needs to have a talk show type of podcast. And this is something that it's it feels weird having to explain it, but then looking back on it, I understand why I have to explain it. Sometimes we're into things so much that we forget when we didn't know and we didn't understand this stuff. So every single service-based business should have a talk show podcast. That's the first part to it. The other part to it is why. Why should you have a talk show podcast? Most people get into podcasting to attract sponsors, to attract advertisers, and to build their brand, if you will. When you create a talk show podcast like the one we do for our clients, it's partly that, but mostly direct response marketing. Here's what I mean. You set up a podcast for your business. If it's a service-based business, you create a podcast. I just went to the car mechanic today as I'm recording this. I just got back from the car mechanic. The car mechanic should have a podcast where they interview the people that they've serviced. That's where they should start. Then they should have a podcast for a segmented group of people that they want to service. So if they want people to bring in more luxury cars, they should interview people that have and own luxury cars. They should interview people that sell luxury cars, and they should talk about it. And the reason why is because of how we consume content now, but also so that they can get to know their client better than the back of their hand. And when you know your client, it makes the rest of these steps very easy. But think of you, if you're a dentist, if you're a chiropractor, if you're a speaker, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, whatever that is, you have to do research on your market. This solves that problem. You're doing research on the market. You're engaging in the market. That's one thing that we teach our clients. You have to engage in the market in a way that most people don't engage in it. And inviting them to be on your talk show podcast is the biggest thing. So that's the first thing. Everything that we do is anchored on that or the result of that. The result of that is engaging the marketplace. You got it? Okay. So then we step back and then we realize, well, what makes a podcast good? It's the flow of the conversation. It's the type of questions that you're asking and answering. So you, as the service-based business owner, have to get really good at asking questions and answering questions within the context and the confines of your business. So, getting on marketing. We work with service-based business owners that want to create authority content like podcasts to elevate their positioning in the marketplace so they can elevate their prices. That's what we do. So if I'm interviewing somebody on our podcast, The Undeniable Expert, I'm going to be asking them things about, well, what type of content do you have? What type of content do you like to create? I'm going to be asking them questions about that. I'm also going to be asking them questions about, where is your position in the marketplace? Like, and where do you see yourself and where do you see the competition? All that stuff. So I'm asking them that in the confines. But here's another thing that you have to get really good at asking people about themselves. So being able to do that, asking back and forth, talking back and forth. So that's the second component. When you really get good at asking questions, you get good at answering questions succinctly. Then we go on to getting seamless about talking about what you do in different ways. This is by far the most telling thing when people come to our event. They don't know how to talk about what it is they do in a way that will make somebody that could pay them compelled. They don't know. So we asked them and we helped build their 30-second pitch. We have an Emmy Award winning journalist as of this recording that comes in and that goes over that pitch. How do you create that pitch? And then you practice the pitch. Then you practice the pitch. Then you practice the pitch over and over and over again. See, this is the part when we do podcasts for people. This is the unique part about it. If you don't practice it, you won't be good at it. And a lot of service-based business owners want to attract a higher level client without being able to articulate at a high level. That's why you should have a talk show podcast, because every single interview, every single episode, you're learning to articulate different questions, different answers. And I say this all the time. I tell this to adults, I tell this to students, I tell this to business owners. Your ability to succeed is directly related to the amount of interviews you are successful at having. Your ability to succeed is directly related to the type and the quality of interviews you are successful at having. You got to get good at interviewing. And a part of that is being able to succinctly say what it is that you do in different ways. I'm going to give you a couple of examples in this video. And as you're listening to the podcast, the Undeniable Expert Podcast, if you're an expert that wants to get interviewed on our podcast, all you got to do is let us know and we'll confirm your expertise on our end and we'll bring you on the show to talk about it. If you're somebody that is looking for an expert, hey, make sure that you come to us and you go through the litmus test that we have created that will allow you to find out if somebody is legitimately an expert. So how do we do this? I've said this a lot. I want to make it so that it annoys me that I say it so much. Fourth wall content. Write that down if you have not already. If you're already in my world, already in my crew, in my group, then you know all about this. Fourth wall content. Fourth wall content. Number 4. Fourth wall content. This is the content. You're looking at the camera and then you look off as if you're talking to somebody. You can practice this in your office, in your bedroom. You can practice this. I encourage you to practice this. whether or not you want to buy into getting your own talk show podcast or not, this is going to help you so much. Interview yourself. Interview yourself. Interview yourself. I'm going to say it one more time. Interview yourself. Ask yourself questions. Answer the questions to yourself as if you're talking to somebody that is not you. This is what we do at our Marketing and Branding Summit. We ask you questions. You get the answers. You muddle around a little bit because you've never been asked the question before, but you get tight. You get tight on it, and then you know for sure exactly what it is. I'm going to go through a few questions just so you can see and hear and understand what it is that we're going to be doing for you, but also how you can do it for yourself. Remember, we're here. That's the fourth. That's hello. That is the wall right there. That's that. Now we're putting the wall up. Okay. So I'm going to sound a little weird because I'm going to ask the question out loud. Normally I ask the question to myself internally, then I'll answer it outside. But just for the sake of this, I want you to pay close attention to it. So Odell, would you tell us about what Get Known Marketing is all about? And that's a great question. So I've learned in my business that marketing is the activity that every single business has to do in order to get sales. And by our definition, marketing is the exercise of continually showing people that could pay us why they should pay us. And the way that we do that is we help our clients find out who their audience is, get known to the people that can pay them, and we market to them by starting a talk show podcast. That's where we're unique, and that's how we started. Oh man, Odell, that's a great answer. That's really cool. So why the talk show podcast? Why is that a big thing? I mean, podcasts are everywhere. Tell me about the benefit of that. For sure. So it really started off by accident. And as a professional speaker coming up, I really didn't have a lot of help. I really didn't know anybody that was a very successful speaker, and I really couldn't pay for the advice at the time. And so what I did really by accident is I was going through a dry spell in my business, and I just looked back to the people that had paid me, and I just called them and asked them why they paid me. And we started having these conversations about, the type of speaker that I was and what appealed and all that stuff. And I just recorded those conversations because I wanted to do research. So then when I reached out, I started learning that they hired me because I was dynamic, because I had good personality, because I was younger. So I started using that stuff in my marketing. And it wasn't until a few years later that I realized, oh, I just interviewed my client. And it helped me get more clients just like them. So that's where the talk show podcast comes from. When you create it, you can make it a resource for everybody that's connected to you. So it's not an okey doke where you're saying, hey, be on my podcast. Not really. I just want to talk to you. No, you're legitimately creating a resource for the professionals that hire you so that you can reach out to more professionals more easily. That's good, Odell. That's good. So as we're kind of winding up this episode, I really want you to discuss your take on branding and how it's different, how it's connected to marketing. Just kind of take us out on that. Yes. I misunderstood marketing and branding so much when I got into business. And that's why we define it. What cannot be defined can never be determined. And so I had to define what marketing was for me. And then I had to define what branding was for me. And so many people don't understand and don't define what it is for them. So they can't determine whether or not it was successful for them. So I already talked about marketing, so I'm going to talk about branding. Branding is the exercise of continually elevating your positioning in the eyes of people that can pay you. So marketing is exercising, continually exercising, what you do in front of the people that can pay you. So you're showing the people that could pay you why they should pay you through your content. Branding is elevating your positioning. And the way that these two work in concert is that hopefully, and this is what we do again on marketing, hopefully, as you're showing people that could pay you why they should pay you, you're simultaneously elevating your positioning in their eyes. That's why when we do the talk show podcast, we make sure that you have a great setup. If we come to you, we make sure we find a studio or we create a space for you where you can record that. We like video because I need to see and hear you that you're a real person, all that stuff. But you can also do audio as well. So that's what we do, and that's how we help create that elevated brand so it can elevate your position and elevate your pricing. Boom. So I just wanted to do that really quick, and I just made them up. I didn't have those questions written down anywhere. I literally made them up. And so when you come to our summit, that's what we do for you on the spot. We help create those little sound bites. So we would go back through, and after I got done with the sound bite, we would say, okay, Odell, you said this, you said that. Let's say that more clear, more succinct, so that we can edit that and get a good reel from that. Go. And we do that in the studio. Most people, first of all, they don't have the skill set to do that, and they don't have the guidance for the skill. So it's one thing for you to say, I'm shooting in the gym, but it's another thing for you to say, I'm shooting in the gym with Steph Curry, who's showing me his routine and what he's doing while I'm in there with them. So hopefully that makes sense. For those of you that are listening to this, watching this, and you're going to be joining us for our next marketing summit, all you got to do is do what I just did. So then when the lights come on, you're ready. And we know when the lights come on, it's a little different. So this has been this episode. I'm Odell Bazell. Thanks for tuning in to The Undeniable Expert. Remember, if you're looking for an expert, this is the place to be. If you are an expert and you're wanting to display your expertise, this is a show for you. Talk to you soon.